Everyone knows Elon Musk built Tesla. But buried inside the company's own founding documents is a name most people have never heard, a name that was erased from the story almost completely. And what happened to that man should terrify every founder alive. The year is 2003. Silicon Valley is still bleeding from the dot-com crash. Venture capital is frozen. And two engineers are sitting in a garage with an idea so audacious, most investors laughed them out of the room. Their names were Martin Eberhard and Mark Tarpenning. Eberhard was not a car man. He was a software and hardware engineer who had already built and sold a company called Nuvo Media, which created one of the first e-readers in history. He was restless, obsessive, and convinced that the internal combustion engine was a dead technology walking. The moment that changed everything for Eberhard came at a gas station. He did the math, really did it, on the total energy cost per mile of gasoline versus electricity. The numbers were not even close. He became convinced that anyone who understood physics would eventually be forced to the same conclusion. Eberhard and Tarpenning founded Tesla Motors on July 1, 2003. The name was chosen to honor Nikola Tesla, the Serbian-American inventor who had pioneered alternating current technology a century earlier. From day one, their mission was specific: build a car that proved electric vehicles did not have to be slow, ugly, or boring. Their core insight was radical for its time. Instead of developing exotic new battery technology, they would use thousands of standard lithium-ion laptop batteries, wired together. It was the kind of elegant, counterintuitive solution that only engineers who had never worked in the auto industry would even think to try. But a great idea without money is just a dream. Eberhard cold-called investors for months and was rejected by nearly everyone. The auto industry was considered a graveyard for startups. No new American car company had successfully launched since Chrysler in 1925. Then Eberhard got a meeting with a 32-year-old South African entrepreneur who had just sold PayPal to eBay for $1.5 billion. Elon Musk had already started SpaceX and was looking for his next bet against the future. The meeting lasted 2 hours. Musk was in. In the series of funding round in 2004, Musk led the investment with $6.5 million, nearly the entire round. He took the chairman position on the board. Eberhard remained CEO. The two men shook hands on a shared vision: a sports car that would make people fall in love with electric vehicles. Eberhard poured himself into the Roadster project. He licensed the body design from Lotus, sourced components from across Europe, and assembled a team of engineers who worked with missionary intensity. He was not just building a car. He was building proof that the future was possible. In July 2006, Tesla unveiled the Roadster prototype at a private event in Santa Monica. 250 guests, including California Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger and actor Tom Hanks, watched the car accelerate from 0 to 60 miles per hour in under 4 seconds. Completely silent. Completely electric. The room went insane. The press coverage was unlike anything a startup car company had ever received. Wired magazine put the Roadster on its cover. Orders flooded in from Silicon Valley executives, Hollywood celebrities, and tech billionaires. Tesla had not sold a single production car yet, and it was already a cultural phenomenon. And then the wheels started coming off. Not on the car, in the company. Manufacturing a prototype and manufacturing a production vehicle are two entirely different problems. Costs exploded. The Roadster that Eberhard had promised for under $100,000 was heading toward twice that. Suppliers were missing deadlines. The board was getting nervous. By 2007, the tension between Eberhard and the board had become a fault line running through the entire company. Musk, who had by now invested over $50 million of his own money, was getting detailed reports of production failures and budget overruns. He began questioning Eberhard's decisions directly and publicly. In August 2007, Martin Eberhard was removed as CEO of the company he had founded. He was offered a lesser role, president of technology, and accepted it. Within months, that role was eliminated too. The man who had conceived Tesla, named Tesla, and built Tesla from a cold call to a cultural revolution was out. Eberhard did not go quietly. He began blogging about his ouster, writing publicly about what he saw as betrayal. He accused Musk and the board of rewriting the company's history and systematically diminishing his role. The blog posts were raw, angry, and deeply personal. In 2009, Eberhard filed a lawsuit against Tesla and Musk, alleging defamation, breach of contract, and fraud. He claimed that the company had actively worked to destroy his reputation and erase his contributions from the public record. The case sent shockwaves through Silicon Valley. The lawsuit was settled out of court later that same year. The terms were sealed. Neither side was allowed to speak about the details. On paper, the war was over. But the damage to Eberhard's legacy had already been done in ways that no legal settlement could undo. Meanwhile, Musk took an increasingly hands-on role, eventually becoming CEO himself in 2008, the same year Tesla nearly collapsed during the financial crisis. Musk famously transferred his last available personal funds into the company to make payroll. That act of sacrifice, witnessed by the entire industry, cemented his image as Tesla's savior and soul. The Model S launched in 2012. It won Motor Trend's Car of the Year. Then came the Model 3, the Gigafactories, the trillion-dollar valuation. Each milestone built the mythology taller and pushed Eberhard's name further into the footnotes. History, as they say, is written by those who are still in the room. After Tesla, Eberhard co-founded a company called IndyMet and later worked on projects in the electric vehicle infrastructure space. He was not broken. But he was never again at the center of the story he had started. The man who had made the first calls, hired the first engineers, and drawn the first sketches was living outside the frame of his own painting. Here is what the records actually show. The original Tesla Incorporation documents list Martin Eberhard and Mark Tarpenning as co-founders. A later legal settlement acknowledged 5 co-founders, adding Musk, Ian Wright, and J.B. Straubel. But in the public imagination, in the documentaries, the profiles, the biography, there is effectively one founder. The story of Martin Eberhard is not ultimately a story about one man being wronged. It is a story about how power reshapes memory. The person who controls the capital, the narrative, and the microphone at the end of the journey gets to decide who stood at the beginning. Eberhard had the vision. Musk had the resources, the resilience, and the survival instinct to outlast every crisis. The curiosity gap we opened at the start of this story closes here. The man who built Tesla before Elon was erased not by incompetence, not by failure, but by the oldest force in business. Whoever is left standing when the dust settles gets to own the origin story. Martin Eberhard built the foundation. Elon Musk built the monument on top of it. And the world only ever looks up.